Welcome back. It is another week of the high school football frenzy here on Fox 43, and that means we have the Frenzy 5. I am Andrew Callista alongside Keith Schweigert, our digital Fox 43 sports reporting extraordinaire. Keith, it's already week 10.
Absolutely. It feels like this season just flew by, and we've had big matchups every week, but it feels like we really backloaded it this week because we could be doing a Frenzy 10 right now if we really wanted to. There are a lot of good games this week.
We got undefeated matchups against winning record teams, over 500 winning record teams, and they're not even making this list.
Right.
So that's how good the games are this week. And that's before we even start talking about the fight-ins. That's just teasing. We got plenty of specials coming up on Fox 43 this week. Get your Phillies fix. Philadelphia Phillies Phil, Alex Colley's doing some great stuff, so check him out on social media and on fox43.com as well. So just want to plug that. Not a shameless plug, just an actual plug right there. Get to it. Let's talk some business. High school football week 10. Game of the week. We got two of them, but our main game of the week, we go with the tried and true, the tradition, the rivalry, Central York at York. It is the game in the York Adams every single year. This year doesn't disappoint. 8-1 Central York at York High, 6-2.
Yeah, and as you said, it feels like every year this game is in week 10, and every year this game decides at least a portion of the Division I championship. Mm-hmm. And, Central York, they've won the last 3 meetings with York and the last 3 division crowns. So they're looking to add a 4th in a row to their trophy case. And boy, what a matchup this is. Central York's coming in on a 7-game winning streak. Their only loss, of course, was to Cumberland Valley all the way back in week 2. York is hot. They've won 6 in a row after starting the season 0-2. So both teams coming in red hot. It should be a fantastic matchup.
I got to tell you, and just giving a shout out to a team not on our list this week, Hempfield. Being that York High went on the road in week 2 and lost to Hempfield, and see what Hempfield's done this year is just really impressive. But you're talking about this. Evan Brooks was down at Central York's practice yesterday. He said they're locked in. He was at York High's practice last night. He said Coach Stoner, he's locked in. Really short. Coach Stoner normally likes to talk. Kind of short this week, says that they're locked in. You talk about Jaheim White, the things that he's been able to do this year has just been really impressive. Sandstoner's having a big year as well at the quarterback position. And I saw York High in action last week. The defense, Coach Stoner's been imploring them to get better. They came to play last week against Southwestern in a key matchup there. The game that I'm going to be at, this is what they're billing. I've seen people bill the game of the century in the Lank Leb. It's only 2022.
Might be overselling it a
Maybe
tad,
a little bit overselling it, but
yeah.
Exeter 9-0, the new blood in the LL against Manheim Central at the Barons Complex. Manheim Central 9-0 as well.
Yeah, and the winner of this one claims the LL League Section 2 championship, so we might as well call it a championship game. Also, a rematch of the district playoffs last year in the 5A quarterfinals. Exeter won that one 43-27, and it really wasn't that close. I think it was 35-36 nothing at halftime or something like that. So, Manheim Central obviously has been eyeing this game for quite a bit. It feels like these two teams were on a collision course from way back in the beginning of the season, probably since around the start of section play when both started off so hot. And boy, this is going to be a good one. Manheim Central, of course, no stranger to section titles. They'd be going for number 28 if they were able to come away with this one on Friday. They have the LL League's top offense. They're averaging 464 yards per game, 55.7 points per game. So they're going to be really tough to stop. They got a good quarterback, Zach Hahn, 1,700 passing yards and a league-high 25 touchdowns this season. They've got a good running game. They got a good back in Bryson Arnold. They have good receivers. And then there's Exeter. They have the 5th-ranked offense in the league, so they're no slouches there either. Good quarterback in Mason Rotelli. He's over just under 1,200 yards passing, 16 touchdowns, so they can move the ball through the air. They've got a real good running back in Richie Karstein, who's just 4 yards short of 1,000 himself. So two really good offenses here, really good matchup. Both teams really look like they're geared up for long playoff runs in their respective classes and districts. But boy, it would be such a big boost to the momentum going into the postseason for whoever comes out on top in this one.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a postseason. It's not going to be a rematch in the postseason no matter what happens,
Right.
because Manheim Township is down to 4A, or Manheim Central. Excuse me about that. We are covering the Manheim Township game this week. Manheim Central's down in 4A, Exeter in 5A, and there's D1 talent on the field in this game. And I got to tell you, Coach Hahn is a coach that I feel likes to play up a little bit that underdog, and he's going to sell the underdog, not only in size against Exeter, but also like the enrollment and what happened last year. So this is going to be a great matchup. I'm excited for this one. I'm going to be there for the conclusion of this game this week. Very excited about that. So make sure you tune in to the Fox 43 High School Football Frenzy, not only at 6 o'clock, but also the highlight show after the World Series as well. Another undefeated team involved in a game, Solanco, 9-0. Would we call them the surprise team of the year? They're going up against Garden Spot. Maybe they're the surprise team of the year at 7-2. They put a hurting on Elizabethtown last week.
Yeah, I don't know if you can find a hotter team over the last 2 or 3 weeks than Garden Spot. They have just, their offense has gone nuclear. As you mentioned, 66 points in that game against E-Town last week. And we kind of expected that to be an offensive showcase going in, but it was only a one-sided offensive showcase. They just exploded. Solanco's been pretty steady all year. You know what you're going to get with them. They are going to run the ball, and they're going to keep running it. And even though you know it's coming, the challenging part is stopping it. They are a very good team. They got a good quarterback in Brody Mellinger, who runs the show, can do a little bit of everything. Not asked to pass a whole lot, but he does have close to 500 yards passing. He's a good runner, 630 yards, 23 total touchdowns. And that's kind of the theme with them. There's not that one big power 1,200-yard running back. They have the quarterback can run. They have 3 good backs that can run. So they do a little bit of everything within that running game. So it's not the easiest thing to stop. And then, as I said, Garden Spot, man, they're averaging 413 yards a game. That's 4th in the LL League. But they've really come on in like the last 2 or 3 weeks. They got a good quarterback in Kai Harding. He had 5 touchdowns last week, and for the season, he's at 1,600 passing yards and 935 rushing yards. So dual threat for Garden Spot. He's the guy that Solanco is really going to have to focus on stopping.
I don't really get too surprised a lot of times when I see these high school football scores based on being out and seeing the teams. Garden Spot doing what they did to Elizabethtown last week kind of surprised me.
Absolutely.
So tip of the cap to them. And you had to go there with the word nuclear.
Yes.
I say bringing politics into sports. I start looking over my shoulders like, where, with what's going on? All right, enough of that. Let's get back to stuff that matters, actual high school football. LampeterStrasburg, 8-1, and shocker here, another undefeated team involved in our game, Wyomissing at 9-0. And I get a sense that these teams from the Berks League coming down, they have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. I know the article was written when the Berks team swept the LL last year with their teams. Here you go. LampeterStrasburg 8-1, Wyomissing 9-0.
Yeah, and I know LampeterStrasburg no longer has John Mannion as a coach, but he has really established that program, and they have just been steady ever since. Probably one of the most consistently good teams in the Lancaster-Lebanon League. They don't seem to have a down year. For them, like a down year is 7 wins as opposed to 9 in the regular season. So yeah, they're coming in hot in this one. They're going to have their hands full, though. I mean, Wyomissing is Wyomissing. They're the 2-time defending district champ, ranked number 1 in the state by every statewide publication.
D1 talent.
Yeah, D1 talent all over the place. 2 straight appearances in the PIAA championship game, although they're still looking for a win there. They appear to be geared up for a deep postseason run. 33 straight regular season wins. So they need no introduction, really. But yeah, they have a huge offensive line. They've got a incredible amount of talent in the backfield. Charlie McIntyre is probably the best, but Drew Eisenhower, Matt Kramer, 3 guys that can really be a workhorse for them if they need to. 2 of those guys are averaging over 10 yards a carry right now. So that gives you some idea of what you're up against if you're LS. For the Pioneers, they're just going to do what they do. They're a little more balanced on offense. They can throw the ball a little bit better. Trent Wagner, the quarterback, 1,300 passing yards and 18 touchdowns. So you can't really focus on one aspect of their offense. You've got to be ready for a little bit of everything. But, if LS can pull off an upset here, that would have repercussions, throughout the state, in addition to giving them the Section 4 championship, because the winner of both teams are tied in the standings right now. So the winner of this has it all to themselves. As you said, the Berks teams have come in with a bit of a chip on their shoulder. I'm sure most of the Yellow League teams, even though you won't get the coaches to say it, are like, let's do what we can to stop these interlopers from coming in here and winning everything. So, we'll see how it goes for LS. It's a tough matchup, but really, if you're getting ready to make a deep playoff run, which is what LS with both of these teams want to do, this is like a perfect Week 10 game. It's like having a playoff game that won't eliminate you if you lose it.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, you get that taste. I mean, exactly, and that's always beneficial, especially for schools that, again, are not going to match up in the postseason, because Wyomissing still in the 3A bracket as well when it comes to say that. Am I right?
Yeah.
It wasn't redrawn. Yeah. I just want to make sure. It's hard to keep, ever since they went to 6A, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, and LS, I believe they're in 4A, so they're going to be, running into some big boys themselves in the postseason. So this is a great tune-up, really, for both teams.
Yeah, I think they're right now in the power rankings. Last time I looked, our number 2, Manheim Central, LS, and then Bishop McDevitt, I thought was on the 3 line.
They're 2 or 3.
Something. Those are definitely the top 3. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good one. And, what's impressive about Wyomissing is 3A, smaller school, but the D1 talent, and we're not talking about like at the tight end position, running back position only. We're talking like along the offensive line. Like they got some big boys. Obviously, the young man going to Penn State is one of the best in the state. Another game, West Perry, 9-0. Have you sensed the theme with undefeated at Steel High? This is a Saturday afternoon game, so you could be listening to this one on the radio, watching Penn State on Fox 43 on Fox's Big Noon Kick game as well, so you get a double dose of football there. I think this is a pretty big game for West Perry. To be able to cap an undefeated season against Steel High on the road, I think that'd be pretty cool for the Mustangs.
Yeah, no, of course, the winner of this one is the Mid-Penn Capital Division champion. So again, the division championship is like the theme for the week. And, we were pretty heavily focused on the Lancaster-Lebanon League, but this is the premier matchup this weekend in all of the Mid-Penn, I think. As you mentioned, West Perry, 9 wins. That's the first time they've had a 9-win season since 2006. Now, they did have a couple of 8-win seasons in 2012 and 2018, so they kind of go back and forth. They have some really good years and then have some lean years, so they're looking to establish a consistent winner here. Yep. And this year they're doing it. I mean, they've put up 30 points in 8 of their 9 wins, and they've only trailed 1 time all season. That was a couple weeks ago in the non-league game that they had where they had to I forget where it was a 120-mile trip. The name of the team that they played is escaping me, but
North Penn Mansfield.
That's the one. And that's the only. They were down 7-0 and 14-7. Those are the only times that they've trailed at all this year. So real great season for them. Marcus Quaker, their quarterback, is the guy to look at. 1,700 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 930 rushing yards, and 19 scores on the ground. So he does a little bit of everything for him, and he's going to be a really tough guy to stop. And then, of course, Steel High. They're Steel High. No introduction needed for any fans of the Mid-Penn. They're another strong year for them. They've won 7 in a row. Now, they did have a test last week. It took them overtime to knock off Trinity. That was a really good game, 35-28. Alex Irby had a touchdown pass in overtime, and then the defense held for him. So they're coming in with some momentum. They've just come off probably their biggest test of the season, beyond the couple losses they had early in the year. They're hot, and this is going to be a huge test for West Perry. Of course, Steel High has that reputation, stars all over the place. It'll be really interesting to see how well the Mustangs can match up and whether they can pull off. Do you call it an upset when you're 9-0 and your opponent's 7-2? Maybe it is based on reputation, but we'll see how this whole thing plays out this week.
I think you call it a little bit of an upset. I know West Perry's coming in, bigger school, but it is Steel High, a team that's won state. I mean, it's called Title Town for a reason in multiple sports and things like that. I got to tell you, what I like is we start the year and we have just information on who's back.
Right.
On these guys. Now we're at week 10 and we're looking at some of these numbers that kids have put up and teams have put up. And it's just fun to follow them throughout the entire season as we get here to the end of the regular season. It's just phenomenal. A lot of good. We didn't mention Lancaster Catholic, Schuylkill Valley. That's 9-0 against a 6-4 team. Spring Grove and Southwestern. Southwestern kind of needs that win because they're borderline on the playoffs. Northern needs a win this week against Mechanicsburg. I mean, Susquehanna Township's a good one. Milton Hershey, Cedar Cliff, 2 6-3 teams right there. I mean, there's a ton of good matchups, and I know I'm leaving some out.
Another low-key good one in the LL League, Manheim Township and Wilson.
Yep.
I mean, I think It was my understanding there would be no math, so I don't know where exactly they are in the power rankings, but I think they do need a win. Township, I think, needs a win to at least get a home game in the first round.
I believe,
Wilson, if they lose this one, they got to be a little nervous looking at the scoreboard, because I think they're 6th or 7th in the rankings, and only 8 get in. But depending on, if they lose, depending on what happens below them,
I might be able to make an educated thing, and I hope I don't put my foot in my own mouth here. I believe Dallastown is 9th.
Yeah.
I believe if Dallastown wins to get to 5-5, Carlisle is still on the 8th line with 6 wins. Now, just going by the strength of conference in the mid-pen and things like that, I still think no matter what happens in the Carlisle game, and they're on the road at CD East, I believe. I think it's CD East, not 100% sure. I do believe that Carlisle, even with a loss, would maintain 8th no matter what happens. So
there you go.
I think that. But again, I'm in journalism,
days,
math, whatever.
One of these days, I'm going to have to get someone from the district to sit me down and explain to me like I'm 5 how they actually figure out the power rankings, because they're great at updating the site, but when it comes to like figuring out how they come up with all those numbers, I got nothing.
Yeah, it makes advanced analytics and Billy Bean and that whole thing look, super easy. So I got to tell you, a lot of fun doing this. We got what, 3 more weeks, 4 more weeks of this until we get to the District 3 6A semifinals. That will be our last Frenzy 5 and our last high school football Frenzy on the air. It's been a wild ride so far, and a wild ride for the Phillies. The Fight-Ins, said Keith. Viral clip on the internet from our friends down at Fox 29, going way back in the late 2000s. But yeah, a lot of fun. That's going to do it for this edition of the Frenzy 5. Get your Phillies coverage and your Philly fix from us here. And also, don't forget the High School Football Frenzy at 6 p.m. Todd Sadowski, Lindsey Barnum, myself, the entire gang. And then the High School Football Frenzy highlight show on Fox 43, the TV station, after the World Series. And maybe a little early streaming, possibly around 10:30, 10:45. Still working out the details on that. Follow us on social media for an update. You guys have a great one.